So what I want you to do is get on your feet. It'll help you get the blood flowing till lunch in 1 hour. And give me a great big round of applause for the amazing Alisha Merriman.
Hey.
Help.
Help.
Are you on?
This is on, but that is not.
I'll get that.
All right.
There we go.
All right. Hey guys, and thank you for the warm welcome as Jim introduced me. My name is Alisha Merriman. I am from beautiful Huntsville, Alabama. Again, woohoo! There, yeah, we've got a Huntsville crowd back there. So raise your hands again if you are an Airbnb host or super host already. All right, I've got a lot of good nuggets for you guys. All right, there's my disclaimer. So this is for educational purposes only. You know the deal. All right. So why? I get asked why from a lot of standard landlord portfolio owners. What's the benefit in switching into this? And usually the comment that I hear behind that is, I don't want to be in the services industry or concierge industry. That's not what I want because there's too much work involved. It does not have to be that way. And I'm going to explain to you how I've actually done that. But you can have 40 doors that net the same as 15 doors. 15 doors if analyzed and managed differently. So this first little stat here is Airbnb hosts net on average $924 per unit per month based on national average. That's for the US, you guys. And then over here, another Airbnb news stat, and this was actually pulled last year, so it was for 2021, the average earnings per unique stay host. So what is a unique stay host? That's going to be somebody who has something like an A-frame, a container home. Mr. Michael Higgs, he knows about this. Things like yurts, canvas tents, tree houses, these unique experiences that people are willing to pay for to go to. Unique stay host, the average earning per month in 2021 was $9,600 per month. That's per month. Well, if you think about that in other terms, that's only between like $320, $360 a night. But that is, how many of those will it take for you to retire? Okay, let's think about that. All right, so this is the blueprint that I've created, and today we're not going to go through all of these, but I am going to cherry pick 4 of them that seem to be asked of me the most. When people call and they're hung, it's in this blueprint. But lead generation, acquisition, how do you furnish these things to make it appealing for somebody? And then you start advertising it. And of course, there's more than Airbnb, and I'm going to highly suggest that you seek out these other channels and don't let the blood, the life-giving vein of your business solely be relied on Airbnb because they can turn you off in a second, okay? But other travel channels, local marketing, my systems, so that was a turning point in my business. Team scaling, who did I bring on where I can step out, okay? So example, today I am here, but this month I will be out of town, away from my business, away from my portfolio, my houses, for 23 days, right? I'm collecting my husband, my baby. We're gonna go travel around Tennessee this month. So how am I able to do that? Well, I did it by replacing myself with a team. Business to business marketing and leaning out. Okay, so now how can I take the properties I have and start stripping things away, maybe unnecessary, or really honing in on better prices and just optimizing everything. All right, I got abs, you guys. Not for real. My husband does. We'll go there, but not me. ABB, this is what we've deemed it in my office, and it's Airbnb, a business in a backpack. So essentially, using my cell phone, I have been able to still run my business completely. And that feels good to know that my properties can be located in one area and I can be absolutely anywhere in the world I want to be. But the question I get asked the most about is, people hear about Airbnb, they get excited, then they actually start to find a deal, and they get analysis paralysis, and they freak out. They're like, oh, but what about this and what about that? And so that's probably the number one call. And then the next one is, how do you trigger the algorithm? How do you push yourself to the top in Airbnb, right? And how do you avoid vacancy? Essentially, if it doesn't matter how beautiful your place is, how the nice furnishings, the nice linen, what amenities you offer, if no one knows you exist. So putting yourself out there, the systems and automation. All right, I put a little star around that because when COVID hit, I lost $42,000 in reservations. Boom, March. And that's a lot of money to me, guys. I don't know about you, but $42,000, it was shocking because my thought was, flatten the curve. How long is this going to take? How many more weeks can I have a week like that, right? So when everything kind of started to tumble, I realized that I had to correct some wrongs and optimize my business. And I turned to automation, procedures, and artificial intelligence. And I'm going to say at this moment, between 90 and 95% of my business is completely operated through applications, the little apps on your phone. Yep, those run my business. And then funding. Banks don't really like Airbnbs and short-term rentals. They're not friendly to them at this point. I think that will be coming down the line. But how have I been able to take care of that in my business? All right, so talking about market research and analyzing a property, some of the key points that you have to focus in on, number one rule in real estate, everybody knows this, location, of course, the numbers, profit and loss, property type. Are you leaning in towards a single family home, a unique stay? Are you going to apartments, duplex, triplex, that kind of thing? The seasonal aspect of it. So you have to think about it. There are going to be low seasons, right? Amenities and proximity to desired tourist location. I don't know if is Wendy in the room yet? She's not here yet. Wendy gave a wonderful speech on non-destination properties on Airbnb and how they work, and she made some valid points. You do not have to be next to the mountains or the beach to make those property work. Of course, the numbers might be better if you're willing to go to those places and the occupancy rate, but still, they can work in your backyard. All right, location. So I put up there within a weekend's drive. What do I mean by that? Probably from wherever you live, and this is going to apply to the majority of people who are getting their first 1 to 3 properties. I'm going to recommend that it's within a weekend's drive of you, so within 5 or 6 hours, because you will find yourself having to go to this property. If you're not someone who's accustomed to jumping on a plane, if that's not a regular part of your lifestyle, Jeff Watson, then you will actually have to get on that plane and go here if you're choosing somewhere really far away. So ideally, it's within a weekend's drive of your house. Zoning and taxes. So this is the very next thing you ask about or you look at is this place zoned to be an Airbnb? Can I do that, short-term rental? And taxes, you can actually log on to mylodgetax.com and find out what your taxes are going to be for both city and your state tax, so your lodging tax in total. I've recently started selling a lot of my properties that were in an area where the tax was 14%, okay? So I'm moving them. I'm actually selling those houses and buying other Airbnbs right outside the city, so tier 2 area approximately. And in that tier 2 area, I'm only paying 5% lodging tax. There is no license, there is no permit. You just file it on your taxes, and this is for Alabama. But that made a big difference in the numbers, right? And so I just swapped the numbers as far as my outgoing. I was still getting the same number of reservations. I'm still getting the same price per night. All I had to do was shift where I was, and I dramatically changed my net, right? Okay, so amenities close by. Now, I've got a wonderful, beautiful soul in the room. His name is Al Williamson. He actually kind of pushed me into this whole model of Airbnb, short-term rental, corporate rentals years ago, and I'm very blessed to have him. But he told me this about being in a proximity to hotels, and it makes total sense, guys. These hotels have done millions of dollars worth of research before they built that building. What's the chances of you staying booked or having a much higher occupancy rate, if you're within 5 miles of that hotel, you can cut their price maybe by like 10, 15, 20%, and you have a full-size kitchen, you have a washer and dryer, you allow pets, private free parking, right? All these things, you can actually shift that traffic over to you. And I think I had read a couple of years ago that they're not even going to build a Comfort Inn unless they can hit a 72% occupancy rate. They need to guarantee that. So I just think if you're close to these, you're going to do okay. Amenities close by, that's ideal. Of course, things like coffee shops, but you don't have to have it. Wendy proved that to me. I tried her methods. They worked. I moved outside the city. And the best performing properties on travel channels like Airbnb, VRBO are close to state parks and national forests. Let me give you a little caveat there for those of you who are doing things like glamping sites, Airbnbs that are in very rural destinations. Have it within sight of the neighbors, or put up 2 or 3 canvas tents. Even if there's no one staying there, there's something about someone being driving out to the middle of the woods, pulling down a dark treed, no off-grid service property, and checking in where they get really freaked out when they can't see other dwellings. Even if there's no one there, they need to be able to see other properties close by. All right, so income potential. I would say the most popularized tool out there is airdna.co. If you go to .com, you're not going to get there. But on AirDNA, you do not have to subscribe to actually get access to this tool and this information. Whenever you log onto their website, left-hand side, you're going to see a little column that says Invest. Click on that. There's going to be a little pop-up that says Rentalizer. It's a Rentalizer tool. That's just what they've copyrighted as. And once you plug in all your data, according to AirDNA, they say that you should be looking for a 8 to 12% cap rate. For me, I think that you should set the bar at 10%. There's no reason why you cannot find a property that meets 10% in this market. And if that's not the property, you know what? Low-hanging fruit, you guys. Move on. There's a lot of property. Let the numbers work, because if I'm not talking about it today, but rental arbitrage is a method in the Airbnb space where you can get started for as little as $6,000 to $8,000 depending on your market. That's really cheap to be buying into the American dream and be making $500-600 plus. To, I know people who bring home $2,000 a month on a rental arbitrage. So just saying, you can find these good deals, but you're looking for a cap rate of 10% higher. That's my personal number. Mashvisor. Now, on this site, it's also, just like AirDNA, it's considered a data aggregator. What is a data aggregator? They're pulling from sites like VRBO, Airbnb, Zillow, all these travel channels or rental channels, and they're compacting all the data. So Mashvisor, you're really going to see the comparison of short-term rentals versus traditional rentals in that area still is valid. Even though that's not your exact market, that matters. Why? If the market tanks, you know what? You still need to be able to float. If you have to pivot and make that property actually a standard rental, be prepared for that. I have a property where recently the market didn't shift like that for me at this particular house. But what did happen was I wanted to keep, it was already a short-term rental. I wanted to turn it closer to a standard rental. But what I did was in my ad, I removed having to pay for the utilities. So I attracted longer-term guests, but I was able to cut the Airbnb. I was above standard rental, and I was below Airbnb rental. I was right there in the middle, and I put the utilities on the guest. So they were actually checking in for 4 months plus, and they had to move the utilities in their name. But I attracted them still in that higher margins just because of the dollar amount I was able to decrease. So it was kind of like bait. I put it out there. But I got a wonderful guest, and now I don't have to pay for the electric and everything. But have multiple exit strategies, even if that is, you have to flip it. You know, if you buy a house or start buying a house, you're rehabbing it and things get upside down, make sure it works as a short-term rental, a standard rental, and a flip. Even a fire sale. What is a fire sale? If you just have to get out from under it, get your lender's money back, we make sure our properties work in multiple different ways. We've done exit strategies that we didn't expect. Sometimes we've subdivided the property, sold off that land just to be able to pay off the note, right? Whatever we have to do, we make sure that we have 4, 5, 6 exit strategies, just so everyone's safe. Rent-O-Meter. So Rent-O-Meter, a lot of you guys know about it. The old time rule used to be have a 1% rule or more, which means if you purchase it for $100,000 as a standard rental, you want it to at least yield $1,000 a month. I think that's old and outdated, especially depending on the market you're coming from, if it's like California, Colorado, that kind of thing. So I'm going to say 2% rule, at least, just to be on the safe side. And then you're going to want to be the nosy neighbor on Airbnb itself. You're going to want to look for the age of the reviews on the properties located next to you. So how long have they been in business? How many turns have they had? Is the market saturated? Is there room for growth? What type of furnishings do they have, right? What's their average nightly rate? Now, you just starting out, know that the people who have, 50, 100 reviews, they've been quite seasoned in that property, they're going to get more per night than you, but it's going to be a building effect. But yeah, creep on your neighbors. All right. Deal check. So on my website, I have provided for free, and I'm going to give you my website info at the end, something called Deal Check, and it's the total monthly income, total monthly expense, annual cash flow, and cash-on-cash return. And these quadrants, I didn't recreate the wheel, guys. I have pulled from wiser individuals than me, and I've compiled the data, and I know it works because it's worked in my own business, and I'm just offering it to you. And I have that cute little disclaimer at the bottom, so don't worry about it. But you're welcome to print that off and do it on every deal that comes across the table. I will say, on my estimates for your occupancy rate or calculating it out per month, I never go over 80%. I think, especially starting out, if you don't know how it's going to, just leave some room for error there. So don't calculate things at 100% occupancy, like you're going to get $100 a night for 30 nights, right? Do it at 80%, so it's 24 nights. All right. Is your property suited for a short-term rental? Jim and I were talking about this yesterday. I think I'm a minority. So this criteria may not fit for you, okay? I like the smaller properties. And what do smaller properties mean? It means less home furnishings I have to buy, right? I've got my utility bill is less every single month. Cleanings and turnover costs. The girls can get in, clean it, and they can get out in 3 hours. So I like the 3-bedroom, 1 bath, and approximately like 1,600 square feet. It's like the max I'm going to do, and smaller. We've got down to like Lisa's size houses, like 400, 500 square feet. So I like those type of houses, but that's also my target market. I'm not trying to attract families with children and pets. I've got children, love kids, but it's not my target market. I want business executives. I want couples. I want solo travelers, right? These people take really good care of my property. I don't hear from them a lot. I don't have problems like people peeing in the bed. I don't have these problems, okay? So I want this to just be a smooth flowing business, and I do that by the types of properties I track. All right, so a fair question. I'm not going to say Class B, Class C, Class C neighborhood. Forget all that. Ask yourself, would a woman feel comfortable walking down the street at night at this property? If you cannot say yes to that, you probably need to move on, because it does not matter how cute it is. If they get lost in the neighborhood while they're looking for it and they drive by and they're like, oh gosh, they're never even going to get out of the car. They're going to cancel the reservation right there. And I've had that happen, even in decent neighborhoods. So be really thoughtful about the location. It needs to be clean, but not necessarily updated. You don't have to have granite, right? You don't have to have hardwood floors throughout. You don't have to do these things. Just keep it really clean. So on like our annual cleaning list, I'm actually going to have a block in the schedule where like quarterly we're going to pull down all the curtains and wash them. Annually, we're actually going to put down new caulk lines on the baseboards because it's nice and clean and white and crisp. These little things where it feels really clean, okay? People prefer private parking. If you allow pets, full-size kitchen and washer and dryer, this is ideal. Full-size kitchen, caveat, they don't complain if you don't have a dishwasher, has been my experience, so if you leave something out. Let's talk about pets. So Airbnb, wonderful app, they have started allowing a pet fee through their site. I say no pets. I've been burned. You can also allow pets through Airbnb, but I'm going to tell you their max fee that they'll allow you to input, they don't let you just pick. It's a maximum of what your one night's rent is. So if you've got smart pricing and they drop your rate down to $70, $30 a night, whatever it is, and then that becomes your pet fee. That's what you're stuck with. So I personally say no pets. If someone contacts me and they say, look, we love your place, but we have a dog, I actually ask about 5 or 6 questions that I have. What breed is it? How old is it? Would you consider an indoor or an outdoor dog or both? And when they say both, So there are certain things that I ask where I can turn down this pet. Now here's something that part of the application process. There's something called petscreener.com. You can actually screen ESA, so emotional service animals, all right? But I'm going to tell you, screen all of your pets. If this is part of your policy and procedure, start doing it to every single person, not just somebody you suspect of having an emotional service animal, unless you want a fair housing violation, okay? So screen them all and just make it part of your policy. The age of the home, this matters. I will say of all my properties, the older ones are the ones I get calls from more often, so just something to be conscious about. And my brother told me this other one when we were looking at we were talking about a 5-plex or whatever. He said, well, let's just speak to the maintenance man. And I was like, genius. Yeah, so let's get the maintenance men, their contact information, and let's call them and see how many times they go out to the property, right? Let's find out what the most common issues. You don't even have to ask the seller, right? So that will give you a good understanding. And on that one, we realized that it had a lot of issues. He was there a lot. That was the second home. Should have set up a cot in the back. All right. Ranking in the algorithm. So how do you push your property up? Number one thing that you can do for yourself is be an active host. And if you have a co-host, tell them to do this. Open up the app on your cell phone, click the calendar, and open every single calendar for every single house each day. Just open it and close it. That tells Airbnb you are an active host or you have an active account. You are on there daily. This pushes you up in what page you rank on in your city, okay? Number 2, when you're uploading or publishing your listing, okay, you've just got a brand new house, you're putting it on Airbnb, I want you to input the stuff, like just mildly, whatever they ask, the address, bedroom, bath, how many it sleeps, publish it. Now start back at the beginning because there's little tabs where you can start back over. Here's what most people do. They input everything just perfectly and they hit publish and they never look at it again. You almost double the amount of buttons that are available to you and options that you have after you publish the listing. So if you haven't went back and looked at everything in your current properties, it's probably time to go back and see what's available for you to what you have control over. I mean, this is an application. This is the only way that you have to vet the people who are staying in your homes. Sure, maybe they don't have tenant landlord rights, at this point, depending on how long they're there, but still, you don't know what you're getting into. So publish it and edit it again. All right, include captions under every single photo. All right, so don't say the obvious thing, king or master bedroom. Okay, they know that. Say something that they can't see in the room, like memory foam mattress, right? High-speed internet, whatever the case may be. Mosquito-controlled patio, whatever that is not obvious. But Having captions underneath your photos, not only does it push you up in the algorithm, it's also meta tagged. So if someone is searching for the word like hot tub, and you say something about your 24-hour hot tub or whatever, then they're going to actually, that's going to pull your listing. All right? You now have access to do a YouTube walkthrough. So create a listing of YouTube and kind of do it the same way you would do your description. How do we do our descriptions? We describe the property as from the front door as if we were walking through it, okay? That's how you want, however your eyes would flow through the property, that's the same way you want to draft your listing. And our YouTube walkthrough, the same thing. You can now upload this link directly onto Airbnb. Pro marketing page. So if you have 6 listings or more, you do have access to a pro marketing landing page, which is essentially your property individually or all your properties, depending on what you want. You can, snooze them or not. But you can send this directly to somebody. Let's say an insurance company inquires with you, says, hey, we have 2 clients with that are having displaced housing right now. Do you have anything available? You just shoot them that direct marketing page, and it's wonderful. Pro marketing page, I'm sorry, that's what's called on Airbnb. Response rate. So there is a free tool out there. It's called avivaiq.com. If you are not integrated, something we're going to talk about soon, and you're just using the Airbnb, VRBO websites themselves, then you can link to Aviva IQ. This increases your response rate, which will push you up in the algorithm. In fact, if you don't have, I think it was, last time I read it, a 90% response rate on Airbnb, then you can lose your superhost status. And they bank the response rate on how quickly you respond. All right. I've had people tell me superhost doesn't matter. Maybe in some cases, but I will say superhosts get 2 times more bookings. Those are generally the first ones you see, so it does kind of matter. Not that you're willing to throw any portion of your dignity or, your property under the bus, being fearful of a bad review. Do not fear a bad review, okay? You hold your boundaries and you hold your standards, because people will run over you if they can. All right, so the first 10, how do I get, I became a superhost very quickly, like within the first month I was on Airbnb. I've kept that status since, thank God. But I was very direct. Every single time I got a property, we would leave a thank you card in there, and I went down to the local tavern, which was a restaurant closest to the property, and I bought 10 $10 gift cards. So $100 was spent. And in that thank you card I left for the guests, I said, thanks for choosing us to be your host. We hope to earn your 5-star review. Here's a free drink on us down at the tavern. Let us know if you need anything. We hope to enjoy your stay. Just a few sentences. We hope to earn your 5-star review. Here's a drink on us. What did I just do? I just bought them out. I just paid for a 5-star review, and I told them exactly what I wanted, okay? It worked 100% of the time. I'm going to keep hoping that it continues to work. So I get my first 10 reviews, all 5-star, and I bought it, but that's okay. I didn't care. So I got pushed up in the rankings after I got those first 10 reviews. Be cautious about your co-host. Is Jim in the room? Oh, maybe he stepped out. So being cautious about your co-host. If you actually hire somebody and you give them the ability to log in on Airbnb, if that person has any kind of criminal history, and Airbnb, if there is a case opened against you by a guest for any reason, Airbnb has the ability to start looking into these kind of things, and they have shut down owners' accounts because of who the co-host was. Okay? So be careful about who you get into bed with. Let's say this. Let's say the person says, I'm a professional co-host. I've worked for 4 other superhosts. Well, let's say while they were professional co-host with said superhost, there was a bed bug violation, a surveillance violation, and that superhost got permanently banned off Airbnb, and you just hired that same co-host and plugged them in to that seat with you. Airbnb red flags that, and I have actually, well, not me personally, but I know of people who their entire portfolio, 20 houses, get shut down immediately, 6 months worth of reservations canceled because that co-host came back on board. So know who you're getting in bed with, okay? All right, unique stays are heavily favored by Airbnb. So if you are in this business, business is good for the unique stays, and those are actually defined now on Airbnb, what if you can call yourself that. Even having like a unique experience within a regular house. So something I've considered, now that I'm going to tell you guys, everyone's going to do it, right? Having like a recharging stay, how do I say this? Recharging type of glamping experience where there was like no Wi-Fi, we had pesticide-free coffees, grounding pads on the beds, yoga experiences, these kind of things where people got to go there and recharge. I think that is an experience within just a regular home that can be phenomenal and put you in this unique experience category. But to push yourself in the algorithm, you're going to want something like a catchy title. So this is one of my properties. Well, I just sold it, and oh, what a beautiful day. I bought it not that long ago for $129,000, and it just sold for $375,000. Woo, woo. I'll take that. Oh, and I failed to mention I got to keep the AUD that makes $3,000 a month free. It's mine. It's got a warranty deed, and it's been completely separated, and I own it now. And that was free above the profit made. It's a wonderful, wonderful deal. But the executive Victorian penthouse in 5 Points. So you want a catchy name. That matters to Airbnb. It doesn't matter to me very much. But we've got like the hidden gem downtown. We've got the Four Kings, because there's 4 king beds in it, 4 Kings at Lazy River. We've got all kinds of property names. But the first 5 photos, often people upload the exterior, then the next 4 are the living room. Don't do that. I choose not to do the exterior, if you notice that. Why? Because if you're someone with bad intentions and you're driving around the neighborhood, even though Airbnb they don't disclose your exact address, this house is pink. You don't think they can notice a pink house in the neighborhood? Yeah, so I do not put the exterior picture on Airbnb. I put the interior living room first in case someone is in the area and they have bad intentions. But it's the living room, kitchen, master bedroom, spare bedroom, and the master bath. So this is their first impression, guys. You want to lock them in right then. All right. Who knows? He who markets is he who wins. This is so true. He who markets is he who wins. So what travel channels? This is where people go if you're in the short-term space. This is where you go first. And generally, they're only on Airbnb, which is insane, okay? Local channels. So what are local channels? I advertise on Zillow. I advertise on Facebook Marketplace. I advertise on Craigslist. Local channels. And then business-to-business marketing, so direct bookings. I have created a reputation for my property. So my properties, they're going to get their own Facebook page. I'm going to start posting about different opportunities or things in that property, like freestanding acrylic tub, right? I kind of start to create personalities and brands for each house itself, right? And whenever I'm able to isolate a property and someone's inquiring, I'm able to send them all these links about, oh yeah, this is the property. And let's say I'm sending that link to let's say like a relationship manager for a home builder, right? The person who's supposed to be the buffer between me and them, the sales manager. I can send that person all my links. That's a business-to-business transaction. And I'm telling you, that's where the money is. That's where the easy money is, where someone checks in for 30 days and then they keep extending, or someone who checks in for 2 weeks and they keep extending. It is easy money. But this is a process. But this is how you avoid vacancy. Vacancy is the death of this business, okay? Avoid it at all cost. Another thing to note is you can create multiple Airbnb accounts. A lot of people, they're hesitant to this, or maybe they don't even know this. I will say that there is a bit of a hiccup when you're creating the account, because it'll say, what's your phone number? And a lot of people go, oh gosh, I already got one with the same get a new phone number. Get on Google. You can get a Google number that sends directly to your phone number. Just use that, okay? But creating multiple accounts, Airbnb is happy to allow this. Why? Why would you want that? It's because you're casting more lines. So change on the different accounts, change the front picture. Don't have it the same picture as the living room. Or change the prices by 5%. So I never ever go more than 4 listings at the same address on 4 different accounts. You could probably avoid vacancy with just one. But whenever you start having trouble and all of a sudden deep winter, right, that time between Christmas and slightly after New Year's when no one has any money, they're all fat and stuffed and they're not traveling a lot, you're going to have some vacancy. During that time, you're going to wish you had that secondary account open where you were casting more lines, putting your property out there more, okay? But you can use the same EIN number on multiple accounts. You can use the same social if you have it, and you can use the same address. You don't got to use your neighbor's address, okay? Use the house's address. But Airbnb encourages this actually because their goal, they only get paid whenever you are occupied. 100% occupancy is what they're always aiming for, and it doesn't matter what that looks like. All right. So this is the golden star of what I've learned in my business, which is systems, platforms, and automation. I want everyone to say this with me. Capital equipment and AI is distilled labor. Capital equipment and AI is distilled labor. Guys, I guess I'm really stubborn. Chris, am I stubborn? Oh. It took me a lot to bite this bullet, and it was in that moment whenever I lost that $42,000 that I realized I had to make some changes. Because in my mind, I'm sitting here going, oh, $100 a month, $200 a month for an app? Like, is it worth it? Is it really going to pay it? I want you to start thinking about apps and artificial intelligence as if they were employees. Would you pay an employee $100 a month for all your bookkeeping? Ooh. Would you pay them $100 a month to screen every single tenant, screen all the pets, make sure all the reservations, the cleanings were covered, like these things? Of course you would. In fact, the amount of data an app can bring to the table is 10 times better than somebody sitting there with a piece of paper and a pencil. I mean, the value is incredible. And I had no idea what I was actually leaving on the table. But let's use this example. So here's a house, one house. Maybe it's your first house. Maybe it's one in your portfolio. You list it on Airbnb and VRBO. And then all of a sudden, you start to integrate into this capital equipment and AI. So let's say I use Smart B&B, and then I connect that to Stripe, a payment processor. Turnover B&B, which is a cleaning application. We're going to get into explaining these a little bit more. Price Labs, which is a revenue management software, and Trello and Google. So what is Trello or Google Suites, Google Apps? Those are just managing my in-house communication. So who was the last person to clean this house? Who changed that filter last, right? We just keep up with everything. So generally, people get desperate and they become what's her name out of Texas? She deemed it a hectic host. Yeah. She, hectic host. I love that. Between 4 and 6 properties, yes, you feel like your head's about to explode because there's constant calls and stuff when you're doing all these things yourself. It's very true. And usually that's when people are like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be in the service industry. I'm going to convert all my houses into just standard rentals. When they're leaving so much money on the table, they don't even know it because they don't have to be that person. But 4 to 6 houses is what I've learned. All right. On my website, I have the best thing I've given. I compiled it strictly for this event. There are 102 apps, and it is the most extensive list I have ever seen on the internet for applications, systems, and procedures that can help you operate and properly run one of these businesses. I didn't disclose which ones I chose because I have chosen one, used it, not liked it, and changed. But I will say, If you get on my website, I'm going to tell you what it is at the end, and please download that list. It is going to be free for all of you for the next 30 days. After that, it will be something I sell whenever I create my course. It is fabulous. And these are tools that are out there to help you, but if you don't know about them, they're not going to help you. 102 of them, very, very extensive list. Dynamic pricing. So I put this above property management software, and I put this above, so property management software, also referred to as channel management or API. They're all three essentially the same thing. They do about the same thing. So dynamic pricing, when I was informed about this and I did it, I realized I was leaving anywhere from $700 to $1,000 per property per month on the table. Do you realize how much that changed my life? I got one app, and I want to say the one I chose was like $6 per month. For $6 per month, I just brought more than $10,000 a month to my household. Like, that changed my life. I couldn't even believe it, that one application could do that. No longer are we living in a time with Airbnb, with what it was created and founded on, which was throw a room up for rent so that you can just get a little eat money. No. These are optimized, systemized, large businesses. The people who are really honing in on Airbnb, they've got it to an art, and they're running with it. And whenever I first realized about revenue management software, I was thinking, like, it's my business, but I'm doing great. I know exactly how much the house gets at night. No, I don't. Revenue management software, it goes down into the micro communities, not just a zip code. It's going to take the vacancy rate at your neighbor's house, and it's going to adjust your price every 15 seconds. It's going to change that price. If there's an event that's just published in the local paper at your local civic center, it's going to shoot the price up that Saturday night. You hire an employee to sit there on the computer and analyze the local calendar. My tush. That ain't happening. I thought I could, but I was leaving $23 up to $50 a night per night on the table because I wasn't on my phone on every single property, changing it constantly. You can't do what these things do. And it was just shocking. $10,000 plus a month I brought home extra by adding a $6 app. Oh my gosh. So I put that revenue management software above property management software. And here's another reason why. Property management software, now Airbnb has wised up, and they're starting to actually incorporate on Airbnb and VRBO a lot of property management applications directly into Airbnb because they're trying to funnel that business back to them solely because they're realizing all of us are getting smarter and we can have direct bookings by using all these other systems and cut them out. I would say majority of my bookings are business to business or direct at this point, not Airbnb. So Airbnb is just a channel. And let's just be real clear about Airbnb. It gets a big name as business, but it's nothing more than a payment processing center. Truly think about, do they own any houses? They are a payment processing center with a fancy window dressing. That's all. You guys are doing the hard work, and you don't let them have your sole business, okay? All right, so property management software, this allows you to integrate with all these other applications. So there's actually a button called integration, and that's where you're going to look up all these other pieces of software, and it's all going to merge together. So your calendar automatically goes out to your cleaners, right? Things like that. So yes, cleanings. This is one of the biggest headaches in Airbnb. What are you doing? You're screenshotting a picture of the upcoming cleanings. The moment someone books, you send it to that cleaner. Whoops, sent it to the wrong cleaner. She contacts you and lets you know that she has a birthday that day. It's insane. And then she cleans it, and then you have to send her payment. This app automatically sends her the calendar the moment they book. She can accept or deny, or he, whoever. They can accept or deny, and then the payment is drafted to them automatically. Of course, you can deny paying them if you want to. You've got the options. You're still the boss. But it is a beautiful, beautiful automatic thing. Background screening, there are tools out there for a lot of you standard landlords who are like, I don't feel good about not being able to vet my guests. Well, you can. Well, looky there. I've been vetted. I told you we're traveling our stay down in Gatlinburg. I got screened by that Airbnb. I'm only there for 7 days, but I had a full screening. Noise level monitoring. So there are apps or pieces of software that you can actually put inside your house where it measures, it's not surveillance, but it measures the decimal. So if it's past 9 p.m. and you got real picky neighbors, or maybe let's say you're in a triplex or a condo or something like that, then it can automatically measure the decimal, send you a message, and you can contact the guest and say, hey, maybe you want to bring it down a little bit, or is it going to alert you to a party, or you can do a courtesy call to your local police station, right? Just do a nice drive-by. Or send out someone who looks like security, like my brother. We've done that. That's hilarious. Security. Key exchange. So handing off the keys, how do you do that with people still feeling secure? And I will be honest, most people, they don't want to meet you. In fact, they're kind of freaked out when they're like, oh God, it's the owner. So it's better for that to be a seamless process, and self-check-in is ideal. Automatic messaging. Ooh, this is cool. StayFi. So StayFi is an application where when the person logs into your email or to your internet, so they got internet in the place, to get the access to the Wi-Fi, they have to give you their email address. Do you know what you can do with all your guest email? And how many of your guests who stay in your place can you retarget an ad that says, hey, did you love your stay? Would you like to consider being a superhost? I can teach you how. Ooh, did you just make another stream of income by retargeting all your guests? Or how many of those guests can you have their email and send them a link that says, hi, we hope you enjoyed your stay, but you're welcome to come back at a 20% discount by booking directly. Huh? You can do a lot by collecting your guest email. First off, they all go through and they're like, oh, this looks easy. We could do all this. Yeah, okay, well, just come on in. And, you have options whenever you collect their email address. StayFi, what an easy thing. Pet screening, financial performance. If you don't know what your properties are performing at, you're doing a huge disservice if you're just hoping for the best. So you can actually keep up with it with a lot of free applications. Most of the financial ones are free. They're completely free because they sell you on other fronts, like getting to be able to do your taxes and so forth. All right, so this is what I learned. I put all these systems in place, and all of a sudden the business was running without me. And what a beautiful thing. I didn't have to do very much anymore. But it became so lucrative after like 6 houses that I could afford to replace myself, and I have. I have replaced myself. I can tell you her name. Her name is Ginger, and none of you can hire Ginger. Why? Because I know what kind of cut of cloth she is, right? She's loyal to the core, and we have a really, really good bond, and she has truly embraced everything I've taught her, and she's replaced me, my position in the office. And once I get one property operating correctly, I can do what I call the handoff. Once I know it's in all these streaming apps, I hand it off to my employees. And it takes about, and I explained this last time at Dealmaker, either an assistant, property management, whatever, property manager, whatever you want to call that, or a co-host. A runner, we really like the runner in our business because she does all the little errands like picking up laundry and supplies and stuff. And then a contractor is what I've added to my 3 employees. A full-time contractor, here's the caveat, I flip houses on the side. There is always something to clean, something to paint, or something to do. So I can afford to have that full-time contractor. And these 3 people can fully operate my portfolio. That number of people really kind of maxes out at like 20 to 23 properties. You might want to add someone else to the team at that point, okay? But doing the handoff, get all the systems in place, and my little quote up here says, why do 90% of startups fail while 90% of franchises succeed? Systems. I almost failed. And it was really, really hard for me to scramble and recollect myself. I had come to the point where I was like, I'm done. I'm going to go back to flipping houses. I was bad to the bone. I'm going to do that. And then I realized the cash flow was the lifeblood of my company, or of one of my companies, and I needed to keep it, but I had to pivot. I really did. I had to figure out what I was going to do. Funding. All right, so this, I'm going to just ask a bold statement. If you are a private lender in the room, please stand up. If you're a private lender in the room, please stand up. For those of you who are looking for private money, these are the individuals you need to have a heart-to-heart with. These are the individuals you need to get to know. All right, you guys can sit down. They need you as much as you need them, but you need to allow an open, transparent line of communication, okay? Hard money lenders in the room, same thing. If you're a hard money lender, and it's probably a lot of the same people, please stand up. Let these borrowers see who you are. Woo, woo! Get it, Wendy. Yeah, I see her flexing back there. You look like my little girl. I asked her, show me your muscles. She goes, all right. These are the people that you need to create relational capital. Get to know them. It's events like this that will radically change your life and change your business. I have not funded one of my own deals, purchase or rehab, flip or Airbnb, standard rental, since 2017. You know how my life changed? My very first private lender, I'll give you something kind of interesting, he wasn't my private, I didn't know what a private lender was. I just went to my boyfriend at the time and I said, look, I know you don't know me from Adam for real, but if you liquidate your IRA, I will retire you. That's a bold statement for someone quite young. I bought my first one when I was 18, and he retired in 2016. And he hasn't been back to W-2. I'm very blessed to say that we get to raise our daughter together. He's not a stay-at-home dad, because I'm a stay-at-home mom too. I don't know. I just do this on the side. But relational capital, pretender lenders. On my website, I have a list of things that aren't true for every lender. They're just warning signs, red flags to look for of what a lot of pretender lenders have out there. And this isn't for people in this room in general. There could be some fakes in this room. But in internet land, where most of you are screaming for private money, you're going to run across a lot of scams. So just be cautious, okay? It's better for both the borrower and the lender to meet each other in person and build some relationship, build a foundation. Banking. All right, so back whenever I was looking for banking loans, I'll give you a couple tips. You're looking for local banks to you. Ideally, there's less red tape. New branches, so a local bank that's been around for a long time that just opened up a new branch. Why? Even though they're part of the other branch, they want brand new accounts. They're hungry for new business. And then seasonal. What do I mean by that? I mean, the closer you can ask for that loan to Christmas, the better chance you've got of them pushing it through. You know why? Those bankers are desperately trying to get that Christmas bonus. Okay? They will just push that sucker through. Ask someone who knows. Ask someone who got a $200,000 business line of credit way too early, which I handled it fine. I got it. I took care of it, but I was like, you gave me what? What did you give me? Huh. I was expecting $5,000, you guys. I was like, huh. Airbnb, buy, rehab, rent, refinance into Airbnb. I've done this. I'm not going to say Airbnb is highly recognized by banks yet. Y-E-T, yet. I think soon the market's going to switch. And I think Airbnb short-term rentals will be more respected than the dependability of 12-month rentals, or at least they'll be on a level playing field. We're not there yet, but when it happens, we're all going to have a really good time, okay? But just know, for refinancing purposes, banks don't really recognize the income very well. Accountants, so I don't use these guys, but I have heard their name in the space over and over and over, and it's a company called therealestatecpa.com. That's where you can find them. As far as everything I read, they look like they're mostly national. Short-term rental insurance, I like a company called NREG. I've used Proper, which is the leading company in the short-term rental space. If you're trying to use your standard landlord policy for short-term rentals, it will come back and bite you. They will send somebody out from Nationwide to go up there and look in the windows and see it's fully furnished and see that you've got the Wi-Fi name and password sitting there. Yeah, they're going to call you out and they're going to cancel your policy eventually. Or something's going to happen and they're not going to cover you. That's the whole point, guys. It's like the same cost to get the correct kind of insurance. So swap. I think mine's like $5 more a month. Who cares? Get the correct insurance for you. I use National Real Estate Insurance Group, also referred to as NREG. Hard money lenders. All right. Host Financial, you guys. I've pushed Host Financial before, and I told the guy, I said, look, you want this to go good with me and you. Trust me, this canary can sing, right? That's essentially what I told him. I know some people. Okay, well, we did one refinance under a short-term rental. It went great. The first one went great. Second one, not so much. And this is me. I spoke to Grant Davis. He was a private lender on this deal, last week or so. And he made the perfect comment on it. They underpraised my appraisal that they pulled by $100,000. How did I know? Because I had pulled one, okay? When they underpraised it, he nailed it. He said, that's not an honest mistake. And he's right, that wasn't an honest mistake. I refused. I said, nope, I'm done. I pulled another, or we listed it, and it was appraised with the buyer, and it came back at $313,000, $100,000 more than what they valued it at. And he was right. That wasn't an honest mistake. And I realized then that maybe they're not the best company to work with. But why is their name up at the top? Well, it's because AirDNA, which is a huge person, a huge company in the short-term rental space, pushes Host Financial. They're one of the most top spoken about and reputable hard money lenders out there, but they're backed by a company called Vizio. And Vizio kind of messed up their own name. They ruined their own name, so now they offer to be the back-of-the-house financing for a lot of companies. But that was just my experience. These others are reputable lenders. I can't say that they're all going to offer options currently post-COVID on Airbnb short-term rentals, but you're welcome to ask. I know that these guys are good. All right, and right here it says, due to the COVID-19 clause, short-term rental income may no longer be eligible as a source of income, and that was published September, so fall of 2021 by Fannie Mae. Okay, but it used to be acceptable income. Things have changed, and that's unfortunate, but all right. I'm getting to the end here. Superhost tips. Do not accept one-night local staycations. Yeah, amen. All right. Okay, it gets worse. Can it get worse? It gets worse. One-night local staycations, if they book the same day, you're like, oh, how do I cancel them? What's my excuse? Say no. Just say no. Like, we're allowed to say no. I think sometimes we forget that. We have to follow it up with an excuse. It's your house. Say no. Okay? I'm telling you, they will destroy your house. Guests who ask for a discount are in the most trouble. They may not destroy your house, but if they're asking for a discount in the beginning, those are the ones who are going to be like, the pressure's not high. You know, whatever the case may be. Where's the extra garbage bags? We gave you 6. You know? So, I don't know. Let the neighbors be your watchdogs. So, by telling the neighbors what you do, no longer is Sally curious. Is she looking out the window going, oh my gosh, it's a new car. Oh my. Don't let them be curious. Pivot, okay? Tell them, hi, my name's Alisha. I run a short-term and corporate housing rental company, and we do not allow parties. We have a no party and event policy. Here's my number. If you ever see that happening at this house, please call me first. That's how you avoid the police or the city showing up at your house first, okay? So tell the neighbors and let them become your watchdogs. Copy down all future reservations, names, and numbers. You can just screenshot it on Airbnb. Why? If a guest calls in and says, hey, Airbnb, there's bed bugs, when really it's a ladybug attack in North Alabama, which happens all the time. They just swarm. I've had this happen to me. They will cancel all your reservations for the next 6 months. If you screenshot that guest's name and number after they booked, you can call them. Why do you have to use Airbnb? You don't. Just call them and book it. Let them give you money and you give them the key, okay? All right, so copy down all future reservations. Don't be fearful of a bad review. You get to write a public response. This was not always the case, but if they write a bad review, there was no hot water, and you say, you were the first guest, I'm sorry, we were unaware, but we could have came by and turned up the thermostat on the hot water heater. This could have been a simple fix. Well, most guests will read that and be reasonable, right? Zoning and ag. So I know of a lady who she was zoned for ag, but when she went down to zone, she couldn't actually, so she was rural, she couldn't actually have multiple rentals on one property. So what she did instead was she created a petting zoo, and the people who rented the properties were in charge of feeding the pets. So she had a llama, so she got around zoning by being creative, right? She had a petting zoo. All right. Or a temporary structure. So maybe temporary structures are allowed, and a lot of times the temporary structures are going to have looser requirements, so something like a yurt might be allowed to be a temporary structure with a temporary pole. And how do you get by with that legally? Are you 100% occupied 100% of the year? Do you have days where there's gaps? Sure, you can prove that you have a 70, 80, 90% occupancy rate, that it is a temporary house, right? So things like this, I've seen people actually bend these, but all the people who want to change the zone, that usually don't go so well in cities. Sometimes it does, depending on how much pool you have. I don't know where Daniel Clayman is, but we're not all him, or we don't all have that kind of pool. But zoning, temporary structures. All right. Do not use smart pricing. So smart pricing is only good for Airbnb. They created it, and their goal is 100% occupancy. They do not care the price, okay? So if they have to drop your rate down to $30 a night, they don't care, because $30 was a fee that they collected. It's better than no dollars. Well, you do care. You would rather have no dollars than $30. You know why? Because now you've got to deal with cleaning it, and you've got to deal with all the repairs from a really low-end guest, okay? So do not use smart pricing. Use one of those revenue management software apps that are located on my website. Terms and service. If you do not read the terms and services offered for you to read on Airbnb, it's available to everybody, then you don't know your rights. You run a business. Know your rights, okay? When you learn those rights, in fact, the person who's in charge of claims on the customer service call, when you tell them what their own terms and service says and how it didn't violate, what you were doing didn't violate their terms and service, you will win every single claim, because a lot like the IRS, that little person you're talking to in customer service who answered the line, they don't know their own rules. You know their rules, okay? Put in your house rules, the rules and the consequences, and you want to put this in your listing description. We are just now optimizing this in my business. We've just now realized how valuable this is in the claims department. So put all your house rules and the consequences in the listing. An example of the consequence, I'm going to put it here, an example of the consequence would be a non-refundable cancellation. So if you bring a pet, or if you have 15 guests, which is 10 over our limit, then there is a non-refundable cancellation. Whenever it's stated directly, Airbnb can't refute it, okay? And then house rule number 1, a booking request constitutes acceptance of all house rules in their entirety and complete acknowledgement of the listing description. They agree to this. When they book, they're agreeing to this, okay? This all works in your favor in the event a claim happens. And I'm going to end this by saying, those of you who are in this space who got burned out at 3, 4, 5, 6 properties, whatever it may be, and you were never able to scale, burnout does not come from working too hard. It comes from not seeing an end in sight. Okay? There's an end. There is an end. Let that be known. All right. Everything that you've seen here and a lot more is available for free for 30 days at AlishaMerriman.com. I will tell you that we have had some trouble on certain phones. I don't know if it's an Android, iPhone thing, of people actually pulling up my website. So if your neighbor pulls it up, have them copy down the link and send you a text message of the actual website to your phone if you can't pull it up, because whenever you click on the link, it does open. This entire PowerPoint is available for free there for 30 days. How to evaluate a deal, my quadrant list, is available there. The 102, if you caught nothing else from this, please, for the love of God, take my 102 apps that I use to run 90% of my business off my website, okay? It's for free, and it's right there. But www.alishamerriman.com didn't always work. Sometimes we had to put in https://. So just note to self. That's it, you guys. I appreciate it.